Welcome to Butter Rucker. So, last week, Irish Rugby announced an enormous event. On the 17th of May 2026, Ireland will face Scotland in the very first standalone women's rugby match in the Aviva Stadium, the home of Irish Rugby. Joining us for the special occasion to talk to us about what will be a Super Sunday thriller is the Director of Communications with the IRFU, Aoife Clarke. Welcome, Aoife.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure to have you. Aoife, you joined the IRFU in around 2023, I believe, when it was particularly tough time for the Irish women's team. You've been part of what is, I suppose, a cultural shift within the union, and arguably, you've been, an integral part of it. What has been the driving force of all of that change?
Yeah, I mean, great question, I suppose. Yeah, just starting off with a nice easy one. So thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I joined in July 23. And yes, I suppose the months leading up to me joining, I suppose with the Six Nations that year, was particularly difficult. That's well documented. We don't need to go there. But all through my interview process, which had happened, I suppose, earlier that year, there was a real focus on the women's game and wanting to do better. I don't think he'd mind me saying it, but when I met Kevin Potts, the CEO, it was the only thing we spoke about. So yeah, I knew kind of going in that there was I suppose a real desire to grow the women's game. I suppose the few months after were quite difficult in terms of Six Nations. I came in, I suppose you'd almost say when things were rock bottom. I actually started the day, same day as Sean Ryan, who I'm sure his name has been mentioned many times in podcasts and articles. So I was really interested in, I suppose, the process that he was running in terms of the cultural shift within the team and the group. So kind of just made it my business to sort of jump in and sort of tag along to things where I could. So kind of heard, I suppose, or was in the early stages of the Green Wave forming, which was really powerful. And, that started off, I suppose, as the team built towards WXV3 in Dubai. So yeah, it was great. Obviously, Scott came in as well. He started a month later. So I suppose it really was a fresh start for everyone. And for me, I suppose coming in, I just spent a lot of time just chatting to players directly and just asking them, what they felt was not going well, what could go better, and sort of where they wanted to bring the team and to see, I suppose, some of the changes. So yeah, I mean, they are great to work with. They're all very open, all very keen to share their opinions. So yeah, it's just kind of gone from there. So yeah, it's been a crazy 2 years, obviously. So many highs, qualifying for the World Cup, and, kind of going on to the World Cup and actually just getting there after not being at the last one. So yeah, it's been great, but I'd say, it's only the beginning as well. There's a lot of investment that's going into the women's game. I think that's only going to keep going up as well. And you can start to see sort of proof of all of that in the pathways and some of the players that would have been playing in the Interpros and playing Celtic Challenge, the great depth that we're starting to build in the squad. So yeah, as I said, they're a great bunch to work with. They're brilliant, and yeah, just such high hopes for the future.
In terms of your role as Director of Communications, how integral is social media, and in particular the players' own social media, in terms of driving the game? It seems to be so impactful, particularly for a different type of fan than the IRF you've maybe seen in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. We would a real focus, I suppose, in the lead up to the Rugby World Cup and through the camps on, I suppose anything other than the more traditional rugby media, because, their sort of interest only peaks at times when there's games on. Whereas, the likes of yourselves had some of the girls on podcasts. We had a lot of kind of regional PR that we did in the lead up to those first couple of weeks in camp as well. So, getting content creators in like Susan from She Shoots Sport, some of the
We
guys
love
in
her.
from Off the
We
Ball.
love
Yeah.
her.
She's
And,
wonderful.
getting people like that in, RTE Junior who've been in loads as well, just people who want to come in and they don't want to talk tactics. They don't want to talk all the stuff on the field. They want to learn more about the players as people as well. So that's been really great for helping build a brand. But ultimately, a lot of it is down to the girls themselves. And, they're brilliant at it. Obviously, there's some that it's just not their comfort zone. But, there's definitely some of them there that kind of more than kind of pull their weight in that area. So like we encourage it because, them growing their profile helps grow the game. We all kind of benefit from it. So, yeah, I'm fully behind the girls doing that. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Eve Higgins and Anna McGann just seemed to take over, particularly during the World Cup while they were in their hotel. Absolutely incredible stuff
Yeah.
to watch, and something so different as a fan. Looking ahead to this game next year now, you described it to me as being, I suppose, your baby, I think is the term you used. And I think its timing probably couldn't be better off the back of this World Cup and off the backs of the huge crowds that we saw go over to England. In particular, Brighton, just a huge crowd there. The atmosphere was absolutely incredible. Previous record for a game in Ireland, though, I think was just below 8,000 in Cork. How's the initial ticket sales gone? Put me out of my misery.
Yeah, really happy to say we've actually exceeded that number already, and we're over 8,000 after only 5 days of sales. And that's, I
Wow.
suppose, without us having done a sort of proper marketing, that's just purely
Yeah.
from going on sale and announcing last Friday. So we obviously have so much more planned to kind of in the lead up to the game in terms of, what will happen on the day, sort of entertainment and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's an amazing start. We're absolutely blown away. Just so happy that I suppose people are really starting to embrace this and, kind of are now wanting to join the Green Wave and kind of, get on board with that excitement. So it's brilliant. We're absolutely delighted with those numbers, those early numbers. But obviously, we're not going to stop there. We're going to keep pushing for a lot more.
I think it's important to note for some fans that the Green Wave wasn't just a Rugby World Cup kind of building. This is something that's going well beyond the World Cup. It's part of the cultural identity of the women's squad now, I think. Um, Coming up to that game in May, what do you think would the target numbers be? Are you just going to blow it out of the water? Do you think it's going to be something big?
I mean, look, we've internally we had a figure, and I think we're going to probably exceed that now. It's always you hate to kind of be quoted with too many figures in case it doesn't go wrong. But I mean, if we just talk lower bowl of the Aviva, leaving off the North Stand, just because it's it's that bit smaller, it's easier to kind of block off. Just lower bowl is 16,000, so I think that's more than achievable. So that's our first target, but I absolutely think that we'll exceed that. The right things are going, and with this
Incredible.
team being on such an upward trajectory as well. Obviously it's the last game as well, so hopefully there could be a bit of momentum from two previous home games and other home games as well. So yeah, look, we're really ambitious for that game. Really excited. There's still lots of kind of requests for group bookings and stuff coming in from kind of clubs and schools. So yeah, definitely really confident that we'll have definitely a record crowd in the Aviva, but a really strong record crowd as well.
It feels like only a few years ago we had the really kind of fondly remembered days in Ashburn, which I think you could probably remember too if you were around back then. But this feels like a real statement of intent from the union. Do you get that sense too?
Yeah, absolutely. Ashburn actually is my club. So my dad would describe himself as the doorman when those games were on. So he actually, having met Neve Briggs and stuff at some games and stuff recently, she remembered him. And look, the players all talk so fondly about Ashburn and their time there. And they pulled out all the stops for them. And some of them, like Neve Briggs says to this day, like her dad still says it was just one of the best places they ever saw them play. But everything, I suppose, has its time and place. And the ambitions for the game are to grow it, and that means going into larger stadia. We've seen the girls played in Twickenham last year, obviously, and you see now next year, Wales are going to be playing their second game, I think, in the Principality. Scotland are going to Murrayfield. There'll be another game in Twickenham. So all the unions are really getting behind it, and I think the important thing to say is, while none of those stadia have been full for a Women's Six Nations game yet, it's not about that. It's actually just about having having a game in your national stadium, having young kids, boys and girls being able to come and see that and see the team walk out. I mean, that sort of is enough in itself sometimes. So yeah, it's going to be amazing. I think it's great for the game, it's great for the players, it's great for their families, it's great for clubs. It's going to be great for everyone just to kind of see that happening next year. And for it to be the last game that year as well, our history, I suppose, against Scotland the last couple of years, they've always been really, really closely contested games. So it makes for hopefully a really, really good day out in the Aviva on the Sunday.
Well, it seems like a huge factor in the evolution of the women's game, and it does feel like it's the right timing for it. Aoife, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing that information with us. You didn't think you were going to get away with the lucky dip, though, did you?
This is where my connection might get a bit dodgy now.
Yeah. No, we're not having any of that. If your connection
You
gets
gotta have
dodgy,
it.
we'll finish it by post if needs be. Okay, the lucky dip. You get to pick a number between 1 and 15, and you get a question off my little page of doom here.
Okay, I'll go with number 15.
Number 15. Okay, a lot of these are rugby player focused, so I'm gonna adapt this for you.
Yeah, good.
If the IRFU had a talent show tomorrow, what would you perform? And who would absolutely steal the show?
Who would steal the show?
Yeah.
Like out of someone who's in the IRFU or...
But what would you perform first and foremost?
Okay, well, I would obviously be the last act up to clear the place because I have absolutely no talent when it comes to singing. In fact, when we were in France last year in Le Mans, on the way back from, was that our first or second Six Nations game that year? I can't remember. But, everyone who gets a first cap and stuff like that has to do a song. But the girls also make staff or anyone whose first time it is there do a song as well. Now, I had been over in Dubai for WXV3, so I definitely thought I had sort of escaped. But Molly Scuffle McKay was like, Aoife, you haven't sang. And I was like, oh my God. And then you start to panic because you're like, I can't think of a single song.
Yeah.
But you're also like,
of course,
anything I sing, they probably won't know because they'll be like, oh my God, you're so old. So I was like cringing. So anyway, I ended up doing, and I had to like even Google the lyrics because I was like, I'm just not going to remember anything. I'm just going completely blank. So I did Bon Jovi. But yeah, that probably wouldn't be my go-to. When I was in college in the States, there used to be like karaoke every Tuesday, and myself and the girls in college used to murder Kelly Clarkson. Maybe I'd pull out a bit of Kelly Clarkson again for the IRFU talent show.
Nice. A couple of old school deep cuts there.
Yeah. Who would steal the show though? I'm trying to think out of the team somebody actually really surprised me with a song. Oh, actually, Aoife Corey, I think it was her first cap song. She's got a great voice. So yeah, I'll probably say Aoife Corey will steal the show.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I'd say she's multi-talented.
Yeah, and Jane Clossley got her cap at the same time, and she did a really good song as well. Like she, just a lot of energy and stuff. So yeah, maybe they do a double act or something to do them.
Yeah.
That would work quite well. I want to see that.
Jane, a lot of energy, you do say, yeah. We know that much.
Well, brilliant, Eva. Thank you so much for coming along, and we'll get you on again, hopefully sometime.
Great. Thanks so much, guys.
100%.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a million.
Welcome to episode 16 of Mother Rucker, the only podcast dedicated to Irish women's rugby. I'm Ailbhe O'Nolan.
And I'm Cian O'Malore.
So the quarterfinals are over, and despite some immense performances from Ireland, we've been knocked out of the competition, unfortunately. I have to say, as primarily a fan of the game, it was an incredible journey to watch the women get through to the quarterfinals of the World Cup. Having had a rough few years, I think it was probably one of the most spirited performances from one of the most cohesive groups I think I've ever seen, and getting a little bit emotional. Deeply proud of them, absolutely proud of our team and what they achieved, and just signs of more to come. So joining us to talk about it on the podcast today is our in-house resident rugby expert, AIL champion, Inter-Pro champion, and now Munster Player of the Year, Chloe Pearse.
Next week, I'm going to be like the Duke of Limerick on top of that. I don't know how you apply for that. Probably down the council somewhere. So I'm going to add that on so that this just gets longer and longer.
Did they let you graze your sheep in the park for that, yeah?
There's no sheep in Limerick, Cian. It'll be ridiculous.
And joining us again is friend of the podcast, Leinster and Ireland prop forward, Christy Haney. Welcome back.
Thanks very much. I don't have quite the list of accolades Chloe has yet.
You can be like the Earl of Scrummaging or something. I'll speak to my friends in the council for you, Christy.
Brilliant. You'll pull your connections. I love it.
Listen, we won't beat around the bush. There was some other games this weekend, apparently, but the main one obviously was Ireland in the quarterfinals against France. Small few controversies throughout the game, so we'll get straight into it to discuss it. So we had Bitegate. Christy, the obvious talking point is that bite on Aoife Wafer. It happened 41 minutes into the game, just after half time. It was pointed out to the referee by Arthur On at the time. It appeared on the big screen, and yet the TMO didn't stop proceedings to review it. What was your take on how it was handled on the pitch at the time?
Yeah, it was a bit crazy because I was watching it here. I was telling you, I wasn't over at the match myself, but I had a few of the other injured players and everybody else who was back in Ireland watching the match over, and we were just roaring at the TV. We just didn't know what was going on. And it is funny as well. I'm back in work as of a week and a half ago, and everybody in the office has come by to stop me and ask me about the bite. And I'm like, look, she obviously didn't eat enough at halftime to get her through the second half. But yeah, look, it was a bit of a disaster, to be honest. And you can't point your finger at any one person. I think the Ireland side, Aoife Wafer said it to the ref, Sam said it to the ref. Like, we did all that we could. We had to just get on with the game at that point. But it is disappointing because, you know, you don't know what could have happened, but it obviously makes an impact on a game like that.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed something that kind of, I know certainly I lost at the game, didn't see any of it happen, was quite far away from the big screen, so didn't see it come up. It just ended up flashing around the stadium. People were sending around pictures and showing each other. Absolutely shocked to find out it was happened, but it was very clear on TV, Christy. You know, it wasn't missed by anybody. And you could hear, you know, and see Aoife Wafer pointing out, I've been bitten. And the response
That was
of
it.
the
You
ref
didn't have
was
to be
just-
able to read lips. She very obviously said she just bit me. And I think I heard somebody there say you can kind of react one of two ways in a situation like that. You can get thick and take a swing. Chloe, I don't know what you'd pick here. Or you can just be you can be disbelieving. And you know, fair play to Wafer for, you know, she kept her head. She didn't lose the rag with the player on the ground, because that only then adds kind of confusion to the whole situation. She just was like, this isn't rugby, like. So yeah, it was just a crazy moment in the game.
I remember back years ago when I was playing Division 1 Leinster rugby, you used to get some wrapping and put it around your arms because there was people pinching and biting. But at this level, at the international level in a Rugby World Cup, Chloe, that's just, it's unheard of, particularly when there's TMOs and television cameras.
It's absolutely lunacy. Like, but lads, she lost her temper. That was her excuse. I lost my temper. I lose my temper too. And I kick the ball away, or I throw the ball away. I'm taking chunks out of people.
Not biting people.
Like, you know, like, it's like the excuse was even worse. Like, I get like that's probably some media driven thing she has to do to apologize, but I lost my temper. It was unacceptable. It was mad. Like the same as you, Ailbhe. Like we were in the stand and we could see Aoife kind of pointing, and we were saying, what's going on? What's she giving out about? And like that, then the phone started hopping, and we were like, is this an absolute joke? Because like that, the exact same thought, like it was so clear on TV. And even I watched it back today, like, and it must go on the big screen 6 times. You know, what is this like the TMO go to the bathroom? Like, what is going on? Like, it's a Rugby World Cup, the pinnacle game of some of these people's careers. And they can't even get that call right. And it was the most blatant bite in the world. And it wasn't just once. Like, she did it once, then she grabbed her arm and she did it again. Like, it was it was more than once. Like, so it wasn't just I lost my temper. That was like so calculated. She does it, and then she's like, oh no, she's going to get the penalty, and does it again. Like, and nothing but like, part of me like sitting on the other side of the fence, Christy, where you were like, you know, fair play to Wafer, she didn't lose her temper. Maybe if she did lose her temper, maybe she would have looked at it. Maybe then the ref might have had a look at it, like if she actually did cause war.
But like, what could they not have seen? Do you know, looking at it, do you know, like, I don't know what more they could have seen. Like, it was so blatantly obvious. Like, there was no ambiguity in it. Like,
no, it looked like a parody of King Henry VIII going in for a leg of mutton.
Yeah, it was like grabbing it. It was unbelievable. I saw Yvonne Nolan, our very own Yvonne Nolan, who's, I believe, legal counsel in World Rugby, talking about it to The Guardian. And she's talking about, you know, how she's never seen a sanction given for a bite on the pitch at the time. But yeah, that's because there's usually a bite that's buried down the bottom of a ruck somewhere, or it's off the main camera. That could not have been more obvious. There was 2 players involved. There's the guilty player on the ground, and there was Aoife Wafer over to Jackal. And it was very obvious. Her arm was taken in 2 arms, and bitten. It was just so obvious. Chloe, that excuse of I lost my temper, like you lose your temper in response to something. Either you F up yourself or somebody's cheating and you're getting angry with them. Aoife Wafer was perfectly legal. She was just a better player who got the upper hand. And she goes, I have to cheat now. I can't let her get the ball. Mind-blowing stuff. Absolutely mind-blowing. Yeah, I think that apology was a little bit weak, to say the least. I saw somebody else point out that, the first thing she says is, I lost my temper, so I'm making an excuse, and it puts an end to my World Cup. Me, 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 me. And then she gets into, I'll apologise to Aoife Wafer and the Irish team eventually, but I know she probably didn't write it, but that's even bad PR in and of itself. Chloe, how do we ensure that glaring errors like this don't happen again in future? Like a number of years ago, we used to have the ability, at least in the URC, captains could refer certain elements of the game onto the referee and could ask questions. And I know it was a little bit abused in terms of the timing of when those questions were asked. It was dropped as a trial from the game. But for something that is, bringing the game into disrepute, surely that could be brought back in. Because that's something that's outside of the game. It's not an offside. It's not just a stamp as part of a ruck. It's something far more serious.
Yeah, like it's foul play at the end of the day. And I read things about, Ireland should have put down tools and sat down until, they reviewed it. But you can't do that either, because the only thing the ref is going to do is march you 10 metres and then they'll march you another 10, because then, you put their back up against the wall, and then a ref is going to stamp their authority on the game if you do that. And whether that decision goes your way or not, you've probably lost their respect. So those 50-50 calls that go against you, it is about working with the refs. Any captain will tell you that you can't go against them because they just simply won't have a bar of it. To be honest, I know we said previously Amy Barrett's one of the best refs in the game. I thought her communication was incredibly poor. Throughout the whole game, she didn't speak to anyone. There was a time, there was downtime. Sam was trying to talk to her and she said, no. Wouldn't speak to her. Amy Lee tried to talk to her. Not now. She actually walked away from Amy Lee when Amy Lee is captain to go over and tell Eve why she didn't give her the Stonewall penalty at the end of the game. When Lee is trying to talk to her and she's captain, I thought she was quite poor in that sense. So, to be honest, I don't know what else they can do. The captain's referral is a great idea, but that was a bit of a disaster in the URC Rainbow Cup. If you remember the end of the Munster-Leinster game, someone decided to turn a captain's referral. It delayed the whole thing. So I can see why they threw that out the window. But I just don't know. I'm so lost for words of what was the TMO doing and how he didn't call it, because, they checked a lot of the other high tackles and this was so obvious. Maybe Sam did have to be a little sterner. Like Sam said, I think one of my players was bitten. Maybe it's just the choice of, ref, one of my players has been bitten. I need you to check it. And look, it's a toss-up then. Do you lose her for the game? But maybe that's the little bit of a difference of, I think, take out that ambiguity. She got bitten. It was so clear. Aoife said it. Yeah. And then you just have to trust your players that they're telling you the truth.
It was funny when I watched it back on repeat. I could hear Amy Barrett, Theron just saying, the TMO will review, trust the process. Well, the process has been trusted and it has failed, but it hasn't failed in this kind of, tiny little element of the game. It's failed in the most blatant way possible. Christy, for you, 41 minutes into the game, French player sent off. Is that a game changer potentially? 5 points was the difference in the end.
Yeah, look, momentum is the key in any game, especially in a match like that. So even a shift in momentum like that at the beginning of the half, we regain that bit of confidence that we maybe lost going into halftime, having not come away with points. You get that kind of that second wind, if you will, because we didn't have the actual win. So I think could have made a difference. But again, you can't play rugby like that. Anything could make any sort of difference. You don't know. But it would have been, I suppose, it would have been nice to see the system, like you said, trust the process, to see the system do what it's supposed to do and protect the players from getting bitten on the ground. That's not a part of rugby and it's ridiculous. But even at that, that was, I suppose, obviously the most egregious thing that was missed. But I mean, the head-on-head contact that was mitigated down for, I have no idea why. And then the offside stuff coming in from the side, there was just so much in the match And any one of those things could have swung momentum.
We don't like to typically dog referees and be highly critical of them, but it was one of those games where there was so much that was blatant and so many different moments that would have potentially turned the game on its head. And very few of them came our way, or some of them went amiss entirely. The 12 game ban, Chloe, I would have said 12 games upwards, absolutely fair and right. And part of her apology was, I accept the sanction. And they'd already appealed the sanction at the time that the apology came out. 9 games she got in the end. Is that enough for you?
Probably not. Now look, as someone who's unfortunately been suspended for a red card, like, you know, the only, like, it is like I'm giving out about her. The person who's going to feel worse about this is her. She's missing out in a quarterfinal.
Yeah.
She put her team in massive jeopardy. Like I think the 12 games was ruling her out till March. 9 games, you know, probably brings her to January, December. She's missing out on a World Cup. She's going to miss out on her club season. 9-10 games is probably fair enough. I think when we look at a men's season, those kind of bans are different to women's seasons.
Yeah.
I think you have to compare a fixture list as well. So while we might think 9 games, like that could be a whole season in a women's league. You know, like their season is probably going to start late because of the World Cup. She's probably going to miss the bulk of that season. Like it might only be 12 games in that, and she might get the last 3 now. So for me, it probably is enough. I'm not saying like she shouldn't have got more of a ban, but I just think when you weigh up the context of fixtures in a men's and women's season, like bans are they can be looked at very differently. Of, you know, like you can't win with the same framework, to be honest, if you ask me, because the quantity of games across a women's season is very different.
That's a very fair point.
The big one is just the next 2 matches, really. Like, I kind of agree. I think it should be 12, but like ultimately it's the next 2 matches that are the big ones.
So we'll move on from Bitegate and talk about the rest of the game overall. Chloe, we've talked you know, over the last few weeks and even throughout the Six Nations about, you know, different areas of the performance that were good, and different areas of the performance that we could improve on. For me, that game on Sunday was probably one of the most close to complete performances I think I've seen from an Irish side, certainly that first half, and particularly against France, an opposition we haven't beaten since 2017. What was that game like for you? It just wasn't enough, was it?
No, I didn't think so. Like, I thought we did. In fairness, I thought our endeavour, I thought our willingness, I thought our absolute grit and resilience was absolutely phenomenal. What I actually think let the team down was an attacking structure. And for me, that's a coaching issue. Whereas when it came to like players and what they could do with what they had, I thought they were absolutely exceptional. I just thought we lacked, and I think I said this last week, and I've kind of said this throughout a lot of games, I think we lacked any creativity. I thought in a day when the ball was wet, I got why we didn't go wide a lot, but then I just thought to Bevan and Lee, get off your wings and add a number. Like when you look at the forwards carries, like Linda carried the ball 24 times. I don't know how that woman played 80 minutes, lads. She was phenomenal. She was everywhere. She came around every corner. She was so willing. You know, Wafer 26 carries, Fiona Chu 14, Sam 16 and what she was on. I thought we asked an awful lot of the forwards, and they had a 6-2 split. We didn't even bring on 2 of the forwards. You know, we were down Grace for 10 minutes. So like when you actually look at like what the work the forwards had to get through, I thought that what they did was great, but I just thought we lacked any attacking ability outside of that. And it was so obvious. Like Dana was never in a pocket. She was standing out having a sandwich and a cup of tea for half the game, if I'm really honest with you. It was so clear the ball wasn't going to the back line. And that's why France were so narrow, and they were dead right. They were absolutely right, because it was so obvious. So what I thought we did really well. But for me, it was a coaching structure we had a clear lack of attack. An attacking structure, which made us so one-dimensional that France just tackled us and tackled us and tackled us and tackled us and loved every minute of it. You know, should they have had yellow cards? Of course they should have. But like, you know, I thought France adapted very quickly after 10 minutes and realised this ball is going nowhere. We're just going to jam in, double tackle, and we'll get a turnover eventually. And that won in the game, to be honest.
Yeah, we had a huge number of carries compared to the French, and yet our meters after tackle was way down on what it should have been, comparatively. I think you've spoken about the forwards and the pack and how they performed. Christy, I thought the maul was absolutely incredible. We finished up the end of the second half with a 20-meter maul just after Ruth Campbell puked. I don't know if anybody caught that.
Yeah.
Twice.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Twice.
She-
Puked twice. Yeah.
She heaves and straight into a 20-meter maul. Woman is a beast, an absolute beast. Maul success, line out was pretty decent, few shaky ones, but the scrum was incredible, Christy.
The scrum was phenomenal. It was a thing of beauty to just watch. It really came together, I thought, on the day. And there was even there's hints of it last week as well. I thought we had a really good scrum against New Zealand, especially when a lot of other things kind of weren't going our way. Like we had that confidence in the back pocket, which like in years past we haven't necessarily against some of the bigger packs. I mean, even recent history. So it was really exciting to see that even though our forwards have taken a battering of injuries, of niggles, of everything, we were able to come together and have the connection that we had to have such a rock solid scrum. It was really, really cool thing to watch. I was really proud of the girls when they were able to do that.
I loved seeing Linda Djougang's opposite number come off like maybe 45 minutes in. And if I could have drawn the like comical question marks around her head as she was coming off, she didn't know what hit her. Linda absolutely dominated her all day.
Yeah.
And then Neva Dowd had somebody up in the air at one point.
Yeah.
Just
Noddy was incredible on the day, I thought. Yeah.
absolutely incredible.
Noddy is she's such a brilliant player, and her scrummaging has come along so much this World Cup. Like the pieces are really falling into place for her, and scrum's opposite numbers for her are going to be afraid to come up against her because she is such a dog in a scrum. Like she will, regardless of what's going on, like she'll break her back to get through you. Like she is nothing's going to stop her.
Chloe, we've mentioned Aoife Wafer, obviously because of the bite, and you mentioned the amount of carries. We were very reliant on her carries, but Jesus, did she deliver?
Yeah, she did. In fairness, she had 26 carries. She did quite well. I thought she made a couple of mistakes as well at crucial times. If I'm going to be really critical, I thought her carries were brilliant. She got us over the gain line, but I thought she did make a couple of mistakes that were probably during times momentum. Like the carries she had were, honest to God, who the hell in the world decides to run back into Brasso and foul? I was like, that is a very silly move. Knocks the ball on, gets hurt. We defend with 14 for a couple of minutes. At the end of the first half, she's the person who throws the ball away when we're, 35 phases in or whatever. One of the penalties, she's kind of hesitant. I do find that with her is she sometimes doesn't hit rucks because she's waiting for the pick because she does that. That's just someone watching. I know everyone thinks the ground she walks on, she should spread oceans like Moses, but there are certain aspects of her game that I do think there are work-ons where she needs to be a little bit more of a team player. But look, she was still incredible. She had a couple of turnovers. The carries were phenomenal. It was great to have her back. We definitely needed her, but the rest of the pack was the same. Like Linda and Noddy, like Ruth Campbell, in fairness, what age is she? 21? I thought she played like a seasoned player the other day, outside of the vomiting everywhere. I thought she was a class. She blows one of the players into touch to get us a line out where we end up getting up the pitch near the end of the game. She did that a couple of times. She was excellent. But yeah, a lot of people really put their hands up, and they were absolutely phenomenal.
I think of my favourite moments throughout the game. It felt like we were going back a few years in terms of the style of play that we were seeing. Christy, the amount of maul turnovers, and Noddy was right in the thick of it every time. And you could see her, as soon as she got even half a grip on the ball, she was roaring to everybody around her. She knew she had it, and she did. I think there was two
I
or
do
three
think the
maul
first one
turnovers.
nearly took her by surprise. I think it was kind of like happening, and Neve Jones was right next to her, and I think she was kind of like, oh, let's do this. And then they were like, this works, let's keep doing it. So that was incredible. It was, like you said, it's a bit of a throwback. You don't see it a huge amount anymore. But I suppose the weekend that was in it, we saw a lot of mad stuff happening around the malls, even in the South Africa game, the full team mall. It was just it was a weekend for a set piece.
Yeah. Well, one of the malls, it might have been the 20-meter one, I'm not 100% sure. Eve Higgins got her dream. She was a forward. She absolutely
No better
buried
woman.
herself into that. I thought I knew Christy when I saw her go in. I was like, she's a prop. She's a prop.
Look, she's been coming after my position for a long time now, so I'll have to watch my back.
You're gonna have to work your way back in now. Oh,
I know,
that's gonna
look.
be tough. It's gonna be tough. Christy, what for you over the course of the entire campaign were the real standouts in terms of the overall culture of the team and how they worked as a squad?
Well, we've already touched on it. Like for me, the thing that I'm most excited about is how well our scrum functioned towards the end. Like we've taken a lot of hard hits from personnel, from even just like little niggles that you'll pick up during any campaign. I don't know that we've ever, at least in recent history, played 4 back-to-back games. So like to be able to get through that and your pack come through in such a strong, reliable position, it's such an important part of our game. It's probably something that we didn't excel on in this last Six Nations. But ending on that note, I'm confident that we are going to take that into our next campaign and hopefully be able to build on it. So that to me, like I kind of had said it earlier on in preseason, like set piece and especially scrummaging and mauls and all of that stuff comes from culture. It comes from being able to work as a unit and be on the same page with the people around you. So that to me is a testament to how much the girls were able to kind of learn from each other and just vibe off each other around the park.
Chloe, for you, what are the main work-ons looking at the campaign? We've certainly improved in a few areas. I think certainly for me, a little bit of the kicking and open play and the depth and attack in the backs could be improved. Would you look at it the same?
Yeah, like I think kicking definitely. Like obviously the weather was shocking the weekend. The game plan had to be kick the leather off the ball. It was just the execution of some of those. But look, it was miserable. It was windy. It was swirling. Then it wasn't. So I suppose if that's the game plan, you have to allow for a couple of errors. But I think in general, our kicking game needs to evolve a bit more. Sometimes I think we kick a little bit aimlessly. You know, like at one stage we're right outside their 22 and we're going forward. And then we just pass the ball back to Dana and she does some mad kick over her left shoulder that gets touched. And I'm like, what is even going on right now? What's this supposed to be? And like, I'm like, there's no way that's a game plan. Like that's a set play. It just couldn't be.
It looked like she changed direction. She was looking to one corner and suddenly
that's what
changed
the space
her mind.
was. That is exactly where the space was. And then she panicked and didn't like. And to be fair, I think France did well. Like anytime she got the ball, they put a lot of pressure on her. Because she can't attack the line. Let's be honest, she's not an attacking threat. So, you know, that's an issue for me. So to be honest, like I think they need to develop that part of her game if she's going to be an out half moving forward for this team. My preference would be get Katrina Finn in there if I'm going to be really critical about it. She's
But not biased.
Not biased. She's an attack intent. She will attack the line. She can tackle. You know, her kicking has come on loads. I know she's only young, but Dana was only young. Unless Dana learns to attack, I don't see her being the 10 for the next World Cup. And then I just think our attacking structure has to get better. You know, like we've relied a lot on individual brilliance, which we had, like, you know, Eve and Aoife, and sometimes we get the ball to Lee and Bevan and they score out of nothing. But as a whole, like the flow of our attack just is big, hard carry, possibly go out the back. There's no set plays. There's no movement. There's no deception. Like we just need to evolve that part of our game, I think, to actually start competing with. I'm not even on about France. I think we should have beaten France twice this year. Like I'm talking about competing with the Englands and the New Zealands. That's where we want to put our name. Like, so the defenses class like that from the players has just been a joy to watch in most games, you know. Especially the other day, it was just relentless. But I think our attacking structure has to evolve. And for me, that starts with the 10, to be honest, in all my experience playing 10 and that.
So just looking ahead to Ireland's future and where the squad goes from here, I think, you know, over the last 2 to 3 years, we've seen huge growth on a level I thought probably wasn't possible. But, you know, having failed to get into the World Cup, having got a Six Nations wooden spoon, having won WXV 3 into WXV 1 and doing remarkably well in that, what are we looking for in the next, I suppose, World Cup cycle? And how do we ensure that we don't lose this momentum after the World Cup cycle ends? We need to keep closing that gap. How do we go about that?
Yeah, like I think we have to be aiming now for have high ceilings, you know, and high dreams, and like we should at least be targeting second in the Six Nations. I know we have to go away to France, but I just think we've let 2 games behind us against France. Like we said it in the Six Nations up in Belfast, but they'll have nightmares about that game and what was left behind for years. And it's unfortunate because I wasn't even playing, and so will I. That was the one they left behind them. Oh, by so many margins. So I think that has to be like a real grit game, on, you know, chip on your shoulder. We're going to France in the Six Nations and beat everyone else. Because to be honest, we have to stop considering ourselves even on the level with everyone else. You know, we should just be beating Scotland, beating Italy, beating Wales, you know, go toe-to-toe with England, beat France. And then like that, you know, you come into summer internationals or autumn internationals and again, play good teams. Like I think that'll be key is when we have those kind of fixtures, we have to play against teams in the top tier so that we can remain competitive. So that we, you know, continue to evolve and continue to, you know, play the best so that we can be the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah, on that actually, Christy, projecting forward to the next World Cup, what do you think needs to change in Irish rugby for 2029 compared to 2025?
I think we're on a good trajectory at the minute where it's not so much change that we need, but just continual growth. And there was still even a bit of narrative after the match about how we're at the beginning and it's the start. It's not anymore. Like we're well into this journey. We've come on leaps and bounds from, you know, even a couple of years ago where I think, are we 2 years into contracts? So like we're on the right track. We're moving in the right direction. I don't know that we necessarily need to change. But we need to get a lot better at the things that we are doing. And if that's, you know, contracting more people so that we can get, you know, full-sided set piece going in training when we're not in camp, if it's more management, if it's more resources, whatever that might be, we need to keep feeding the engine that we have going at the minute and not let it kind of backtrack or slide at all and not take any steps backwards. And when we do that, I think then the next World Cup, we're going to be improving on even again from where we are now. And then I suppose going hand in hand with that is, I suppose, maybe, look, this is a personal preference. The change, like it's got to be in our club system. We have to change what it is at the minute in terms of it's not a great feeder into the national team because they pull too many resources out of it. And I know the idea is that this Celtic Challenge is going to dissolve back into the provinces and we will kind of find a bit of normalcy, but that's going to take ages because of what we've done over the last couple of years. So I think that might be where we struggle a little bit. But in terms of kind of at the national squad, I think we're in a really good space that we just need to keep growing and building.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I think kind of continue on the path that we're on, but more resources put in place. And frankly, I know you've touched on this before, Chloe. I think to really challenge the top 4 teams, we need more depth. What would you see as kind of being positive steps to take towards fixing that kind of that pathway from AIL schools on through to international?
Yeah, like again, I think we've a couple of things in place now that are allowing us to do that in terms of Ireland under 18 Six Nations now, Ireland under 20 Six Nations. Maybe it's like an Ireland A, like a Wolfhound squad, you know, because that jump from Ireland 18s, 20s or AIL or even provincial level to Ireland senior is massive. Like, and like there probably actually is players who have the potential, but the system isn't there to allow them those rungs in the ladder to get there unless they're picked up like by someone who just believes in them, you know, like, but there's not really people out watching the IL, let's be honest. And, you know, like maybe you might get spotted in Interpros if you're lucky, but there needs to probably be a bridge between that Irish under 20s and that Irish senior squad. And it's not like, I know the sevens is gone now and now you're just an Irish contracted player and all this jazz, but I'd love to see like maybe an Irish Wolfhounds type thing because like England definitely have something like that. And maybe it's a case that they play like the British Army and the Irish Army and they play someone else just to get competitive games, because I know not every country is going to have the resources to have that A squad. So maybe then you have to think outside the box. But it's just about putting people in that environment as well, because that's another challenge. It's not just like, if you're not a contracted player, you don't know what it's like to be in that environment. And it is quite difficult, and it is mentally tough, and it is a bit different. So even just to give that exposure to those players who have the capability to bridge that gap, but maybe, you know, just the steps aren't there right now for them to get there.
For sure.
So looking ahead to, looking at, I suppose, other talking points from the competition at the moment. Semi-finals coming up, New Zealand against Canada. Georgia Miller is out. We don't know with what. There has been no details around the injury or how long they expect her to be out for. Certainly out of the semi-final. And then looking at them playing against Canada and the last few meetings they've had, they drew in May of this year, and New Zealand lost to Canada in May of last year. Chloe, it's going to be probably a bigger competition than we think. People will probably all see New Zealand as favourites, but that might not be really necessarily true.
Yeah, like I would say New Zealand will win, but South Africa in like the first half, you know, they really put it up to them. I went to that game as well because we were over, and it was electric. The sun was actually shining on the Saturday, unlike the Sunday and the wind and the rain. It was fab. Bucket hats, glasses, singlets, and it was actually just a great occasion. But it was because South Africa gave them hell for the first half, you know, and they really put it up to them. And I just think Canada are such a different style team. It's really hard to know what to expect. It's like they've, you know, 15 players playing sevens who are playing 15s, but who are incredible athletes. Like if my money would be on New Zealand, but I think this is probably a challenge New Zealand need going into, or whoever, to be honest, whichever of them go into the final, they both probably need this challenge of each other to put themselves in the best place forward to face, let's be honest, it's going to be England.
Christy, do you think after Bitegate and all that, we're actually going to be supporting the English this weekend?
Oh, I don't know. Don't know about that now.
Push us a little bit closer.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I'd say, look, the match to watch this weekend is the Canada match, and I'm really looking forward to it, because in fairness, we haven't had a huge amount of matches that have been kind of those could go either way, really intense. Like even I was watching the New Zealand match last weekend as well, and it was really fun to watch, but they did run away with it. New Zealand did run away with it in the end. If you look at all of the matches last weekend, it was all 40 something to low digit numbers bar hours, which was of the four matches the most exciting to watch, because it was competitive and it was your, you know, on the edge of your seat kind of rugby. And that's what we want for, you know, women's rugby going forward, is more competitive matches where the score lines are closer and you don't know what's going to come out of it. So I'm delighted that it's going to be Canada and New Zealand, and we don't I think Chloe's probably right. New Zealand will, like, they know, I know it's kind of a silly thing to say, but they know how to win. Like they've been here before. They know, like they're able to go to the well and come out from it. So it would be really exciting if Canada did it as well. But yeah, I might not even watch the French England match.
So just looking at other news that I've been seeing across this week, we saw a lot of retirements from the Scottish team. Jade Conkle, only 31, retiring. Katie Mattinson, 29, who's retiring entirely from rugby. There have been questions, or at least people commenting online, saying that this is off the back of some of the contract controversy that they've been having. They went into this tournament without knowing what kind of contracts they'd have out the other end. And a lot of this falls under somebody we're all quite familiar with, is David Nucifora. And it seems to be a little bit of repetition, Chloe, of this is just how the women get treated. And it's really poor for the Scottish to see what could be a raft of retirements on the back of poor treatment coming into the World Cup.
Also, our scrummaging coach in France, David Nucifora, for England. You had that game, Christy, in Leicester. In the dressing room at half-time, telling Linda how to scrummage.
Really?
Oh, stop. I'm not able. I can't remember what the question was now. Yeah, look, like in fairness, I think for Jade Conkle, like she's been an incredible player, like playing with Harlequins for so many years. She's had a rake of injuries as well. Like her job as a firefighter, but I think like one of her things was like she came out straight away and said like there's 15 contracts. That's all they know about, or something like that. So and to be fair, like we've all said, like Scotland are a team who have the potential to be just as good as we are, you know, and push those top two. They've unbelievable players, but if they don't get it right, they're going to actually end up being closer to Wales than they are to us and England and France. So it's kind of worrying because obviously we've just spoken about wanting to play as many competitive games as possible. Wales are in disarray. Italy are in disarray. You know, we don't want to add another team to that from our Six Nations bucket. We want them to be competitive because they'll bring the best out of us and we can bring the best out of them. But yeah, I think this is only the start of it. There'll probably be more stories to come from that Scottish team and our good friend and our scrummaging coach, David.
I can't believe that. he knows it all, I'm sure. Christy, as athletes going into a World Cup or going into any sort of a competition without having that reassurance that you have a contract out the other side, they're treating this as a profession. They are giving it their all. They're being as professional as they possibly could be, contract or not. But how much would it impact on their performance and their cohesion as a group, having that hanging over their head?
Yeah, like you said, it's their livelihood, it's their career. And I suppose I'm very much the last of the generation of athletes who are balancing different careers alongside this career. But there is a certain peace of mind that I have that if everything goes, you know, whatever, the wrong way with rugby, I do have a career history to fall back on. I have a company that's, you know, my, you know, home away from rugby, and to not have that is incredibly mentally challenging on top of playing sport that is both physically and mentally challenging. So it's adding in that bit of stress that it's the last thing you want to do. And you don't, like, as I think anybody who's played rugby in, I don't know, the last 30 whatever years, there are always things that aren't quite good enough, whether it's the facilities or the, you know, the fixture lists or the reffing or the coaching or whatever it might be. Like we've struggled. I think, geez, what was it? Only a couple of years ago, we were changing out back with rats for the Interpros, you know? Like those things are always happening. So it's nearly like we're conditioned to be dealing with stress outside of the stress of rugby. So I'm sure that the girls will be okay. They're going to have each other's backs. That is what we are, I think, as female athletes, incredibly good at. But it is just disappointing that is a struggle that they're facing, that a lot of women, not just Scotland, are facing with this kind of new era of contracts coming in.
I have to say my biggest fear is that Rachel Malcolm will retire, and that would break my heart. She is one of my favourite players, incredible. Okay, so lucky dip, Cian.
Right, we're going to break with tradition this time because everyone on the show today knows the story is. So, Christy, you're up next now after our guest earlier on. You're number 2, so number 15 is gone already. And Chloe can't help but smirk to herself over there in her side of the screen. But yeah, 15 is gone. So any other question, and we'll read out whatever we have here on the page of tortures.
And you can change the questions because I did that last week.
No, let's not. Well, unless it has to be a really, really good story if you're going to get away with that.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
that's
Christy,
funny. Well, since the last time I was on, Chloe took it off me. I'll take number 3 this week.
number 3. Okay, if your team had a haunted clubhouse, who's staying overnight with a Ouija board and who's already halfway home in their sliders?
Ooh.
Yeah, that exactly. Ooh.
We'll re-release as a Halloween, yeah?
Who would be with the Ouija board? I think I think Ruth Campbell probably has a Ouija board in her.
You know, I was
somewhere in
thinking her as well. I was like, it has to be her.
I'd say she
Obviously,
definitely
she's
has one.
broadcasting it. It's like
She did The Exorcist already. Like, it has to be her.
And as far as halfway home, I'd say it's probably me the full way home. I'm not sticking around, not for a minute.
No. Oh well, I wouldn't blame you. Grand Chloe. So 1 of 15. And number 3 is gone.
7.
Right, number 7. What's a food combination you swear by, even though everyone else thinks that it's a crime against nature?
I'm actually like a really, not a plain eater, like a regular eater. But I'm just going to tell you about Clodagh because she's a weirdo. So she has like...
Dump her in it.
Yeah.
This is
I
the key.
genuinely...
It's like either dump yourself in it or dump someone else in it.
Yeah, like I eat plain normal, like, you know, honey on porridge, nothing mad, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be like that, but
That's going to be your new Instagram bio, normal eater.
Yeah,
You're really telling this to us.
Big eater, clearly. Never stops eater, probably at this stage. She'll put brown sauce on everything. It is disgusting. So like vol-au-vents, right? Vol-au-vents is a sauce already, like chicken and mushroom vol-au-vents cream, and she'll just brown sauce here, there, and everywhere. Rotten. No, Christy, you're nodding, Christy, as
I'm
if
here
you're
for it.
No,
Do you know what,
no,
Clodagh?
yeah, but
Go
you're
for
American. You're American. You're weird as well. The American people and the Clare people are all strange, and that's
like,
what I've decided.
I like
No,
a brown
Cian, don't
sauce.
justify it.
No. I like a brown sauce. Not a fucking vol-au-vents.
Jesus.
And not like I'm on about like vol-au-vent dinner. Just
Oh wow.
everywhere. Like it's not just a bit in the side, and then mixes sick everywhere. Rotten.
I'm feeling like Ruth Campbell all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It's all right. I don't have a 20-meter maul in me. Oh, brilliant.
And
that
on that
was
bombshell.
that bombshell. So, Christy, thank you so much for joining us again and offering us your insights from this incredible Irish team. Chloe, thank you as ever for letting us pick your rugby brain and throwing somebody under the bus as usual. Though Ireland might be out of the World Cup, this team has so much more to give. Follow them. Book your tickets to the Six Nations, particularly that game in the Aviva. 8,000 tickets sold already, looking like it's going to be a record. But we're looking for 16,000 plus, so get booking those tickets. As for the World Cup, we'll catch you next week to discuss the semi-finals. Until then, keep on rocking.